Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, everybody, to episode number 86 of CBD Talk Podcast. And I've been gone for a while. I apologize. I was really busy. The book is done, so that's a good thing. Actually, October 27th and 28th, we're going to have free download days at Amazon. So if you're interested, go to Amazon.com. And the book is called Purple Haze. So if you just put in Purple Haze Dawn Peacock, there you go. You'll be able to get it. And the audio version is almost done too. So got that out of the way. Just had to explain my absence, and I do apologize. I'm back. And we are coming back with a good episode tonight. They're all pretty good, but come on. Let's welcome Dr. Jim Holland. And Jim is actually growing a very powerful and informative YouTube channel. So we're going to make sure that we mention that his YouTube channel, and we'll put the URL in the site notes for you, because he has some really good information on there, and I want to make sure that you guys are getting access to that, and because you never have enough knowledge. So, Dr. Jim, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Let's get right into it. How did you get into working with CBD?
So I'm a chiropractor by trade, and I actually just won 2019 Best Chiropractor in Richmond, Virginia.
That's great.
So that was pretty exciting. But I have a lot of patients, and they have, there's a lot of arthritis pain and just different aches and pains. And, a couple years ago, one of my orthopedic friends was like, if you could work with something on the more natural side, that would really, really probably help out, because there's an opioid crisis going on. And if you could do something, if you had something natural. And so I went on a quest really looking, and obviously I wasn't the first one to find out about CBD, but I started researching it because I grew up in the 80s, and I always, my wife and I always joke that we grew up in the Nancy Reagan era of just say no.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really concerned, because I was like, well, I don't really want to get into that. I'm not really sure. And then I really started researching CBD, and I was blown away by what the research was saying. And obviously the low to no THC, so there was no psychoactive effect. And I got really excited, especially for just the anti-inflammatory aspects of it. And then what happened was I started asking my patients, had they heard about it? And what blew me away is many of them had already been not only researching it, but buying it. And what they were doing is they were buying suspect quality stuff.
Oh.
They were just finding stuff places and buying it. And it made me really nervous. I was like, that's not what I want you to do. So I went out and started researching really hard, because I wanted to provide good informative knowledge for my patients from a safety standpoint of what's good stuff and what you could take that would be, still get all the benefits, do all those things, but you're not buying it from, somewhere, some garbage that was produced in China, and that you're buying a good product. And so I really got deep into the research, and it just took me all over the place. Like I originally got into it for my patients and their pain and inflammation. So, as a natural healthcare provider, we usually talk about going at things from two different directions, taking something orally so that you can have a systemic anti-inflammatory effect. And then you can actually go right at it topically. So I really went out and looked for something where there was a topical and something that we could do systemic. And the more research I got into it, not only did I find out like, oh, it's good for pain and inflammation, but as you start to uncover this endocannabinoid system and how it has its hands in literally every part of how your body's working and creating homeostasis in the body. And as a natural healthcare provider, that's really your goal. That's what you're always striving for, is to help bring the body into balance, because we believe that, your body has a ridiculous and amazing ability to heal itself, kind of built right into it. And if we can just create balance in the body, it makes a huge difference. So that's really what we were, that's really kind of what took me there.
Yeah. So let's talk a bit about, because our listeners we have a range of listeners from
Sure.
new to very, very experienced. But I always like to go back to the basics, and
Yeah.
there really are a lot of people who have no idea what you're talking about when you say endocannabinoid system, and also don't know what you're talking about when you say homeostasis. So how about you just spend a couple minutes and let's kind of help people get their heads wrapped around that.
Got it. So homeostasis is a state of balance in the body. So basically, the definition of homeostasis is the ability to maintain a healthy range or a healthy balance in the body while there's an ever-changing external environment. So the way I like to think about homeostasis is think about it like your thermostat in your house. You set the thermostat within a specific range, and it doesn't matter if it's snowing outside, if there's a heat wave going on outside, but the internal environment is maintained in this nice, comfortable space. And that's really what homeostasis is the ability of your own body to maintain your body temperature in a certain range, to maintain your blood pH in a certain range.
Mm-hmm.
All of that is the body's ability to maintain homeostasis. It's a balance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's ultimately important to be able to maintain homeostasis and balance in your environment because that is the definition of health, is really your body's ability to adapt to external stressors and keeping the body balanced during those stressors. And so what the endocannabinoid system does, and it's really remarkable because they didn't even, I've been through a lot of school and I went through a lot of science classes, and we learned about a whole lot of systems, your nervous system and your immune system and your endocrine system and your digestive system and your integumentary system, like your skin, like all of these systems. And not once in any of my schooling did they ever talk about an endocannabinoid system. And what the research found out is that as they started doing more research into medical marijuana and things like that, some researchers found out that there were actual receptor sites on your cells for marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, wait a minute, does this mean that your body was designed to have marijuana in it? No, what it meant is that the body must already, if your cells have receptors for something, it means your body already produces it. So what they found out was, once they came to that discovery, they found out that your body actually produces cannabis-like substances already, and those are called endocannabinoids.
Mm-hmm.
And those endocannabinoids, like, this is one of my favorite things, is one of them is called anandamide.
Mm-hmm.
And anandamide, anan, the Sanskrit for anan means joy and bliss. So anandamide is like your joy bliss chemical, all right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you already make a chemical in your body called anandamide that attaches to receptors. And so because they discovered these receptors and these substances doing research on cannabis, they called them cannabinoids. And their endocannabinoids are the ones your body makes. And there is a system of receptors. Now, if you want to know how important something is in your body, you just have to look for how many receptors there are for it, or where are the receptors. Well, there's literally receptors for cannabinoids throughout your entire body. All right, on heavily on in your immune cells and your peripheral nervous system, your central nervous system, throughout all kinds of different endocrine glands in your gut. And so what you find out is, obviously, this endocannabinoid system is really, really important because what they have found out is its job is to help maintain balance. Like, the endocannabinoid system helps your nervous system talk to your digestive system, and your digestive system to signal to your endocrine system, and your hormones to talk to your brain. And it really helps. All your immune system is modulated by it. And so all of your endocannabinoid system is really designed to help really communicate and create balance across all of these systems that all the systems we learned about back in the day, well, now this new system we found out is really a regulatory system that helps connect all of them together and keeps balance inside of them. And so that's really what the endocannabinoid system is. It's always been there. We just found out about it once we started doing some research on cannabis. And then we found out that we had actual cannabis-like substances our body already makes. One of them being, like, one's called 2AG, the other one's called anandamide. And anandamide is actually, like, if you've heard of runner's high, basically anandamide is the endocannabinoid your body releases, and that's what you feel when you feel a runner's high, is that release of anandamide. So
and then we have the receptors in your skin too, right?
Yeah, you have, I mean, literally everywhere. And there's probably places, you know, the truth is most of this research hasn't really been going since maybe early 90s. So there's still a lot we don't know.
Yes.
I'm sure they're going to continue to find more out as the stigma has gone down and it's opened up the research. Now people are really diving in, and now we have the best of the best in the world researching this, going, oh, wait a minute, it does this to your immune cells. It has this impact in the mitochondria of the cell. I mean, it can do so many things. And so, yes, on your skin, in your gut, immune system, brain, nervous system, all of those places. It's really cool.
Okay, so now everyone knows why I want them to go to your YouTube channel.
Awesome. Yes,
That's great
we do.
information.
I may have discussed that before.
Well, you can never hear it enough times.
No, always go back to the basics, right?
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about, and this is not something that I've really talked about before, is the way that the endocannabinoid system and CBD can help someone with immune issues. And we're seeing that so frequently now. I don't know if it's because our bodies are just, there's cannabinoid deficiencies, which can definitely cause problems, or if it's because we're under so much more stress. But literally, like in the last decade, it just seems like you hear more and more about immune problems, and maybe it's because of the diagnosis and things. People are getting diagnosed earlier. But I'd really like to hear some ways, or just some information about the endocannabinoid system, CBD, immune problems, and what you think can help.
Well, so I do a large part of my practice is in sort of the functional medicine world. So in sort of nutrition and functional medicine. So one of the fastest growing, unfortunately, one of the fastest growing issues in healthcare are autoimmune conditions. They're growing very, very rapidly. What you're seeing is what the statistics are saying, and it really seems to be connected to our modern environment. The rise has been so quickly, it can't be all connected to genetics. So there has to be some level of lifestyle and environment that is driving it. And, many of us would say, well, we've got more toxic food, we have more toxic water, we have more toxic air. There's a lot of that. We certainly have, there has been there's a cannabinoid deficiency, certainly. And so all of these things can ultimately drive these autoimmune conditions or just immune problems in general. Like, because I look at the immune system on a sort of like a sliding scale. All right. I'm trying to there we go. So when we look at it on a sliding scale, like, think about all the way on one side as being a full-blown multiple autoimmune conditions, and on the other side, maybe a slight allergy. Well,
that'd be me today.
But they're really the same. Like, it's the same problem at a varying degree along this scale. All right, because ultimately, what an allergy is or an autoimmune condition is, it's an imbalance in the immune system, right? So what we get typically in these immune system problems is we either get too many cells that are killing things, or we get too many cells that are marking things to be killed. All right. And this imbalance in the immune system is ultimately, like, in an allergy, you have too many attackers. So your body comes in contact with normal stimulus and it overreacts. And now you get an allergic reaction. Or, long term, you have, too many cells marking things to be attacked, and you have cells tagging your cartilage to be destroyed.
Oh.
And you have things like rheumatoid arthritis. And so that's really, so it's a continuum. So they're all part of the same. There's more extreme versions of it. And so what's really, really cool is we know that the endocannabinoid system, what did we say? That's an imbalance.
Mm-hmm.
And the role of the endocannabinoid system is to help bring balance. It's about creating homeostasis. And so there's a number of things that balancing. So the way to understand it is this. So in your immune system, on your immune cells, there are receptors for cannabinoids. And most of those are what are called CB2 receptors. That's a whole nother talk, CB1 and CB2 receptors.
Mm-hmm.
But there's CB2 receptors on your immune cells. And what can happen is cannabinoids like CBD can attach to those receptors on your immune cells. And when it does that, it accomplishes some unique things with the immune system. Number one is there are signaling cells in the immune system called cytokines. They're like messengers, and they're like, hey, we got a thing over here. I'm going to recruit more of my buddies to come attack this thing. And so those are inflammatory cytokines. Well, what CBD oil has been shown to do in the research has been shown to actually reduce the inflammatory cytokines. So if you reduce the inflammatory messengers, you recruit less of the immune system to come cause inflammation, you effectively can help reduce inflammation.
Oh.
You also have this, we talk about this balance in the immune system. Well, as one side gets elevated, the inflammatory cytokines, there's another side that has anti-inflammatory cytokines. And usually when in an autoimmune condition, the anti-inflammatory ones aren't firing.
Mm.
Well, CBD oil, not only does it help reduce the inflammatory cytokines, but it's also been shown to increase the anti-inflammatory cytokines. So you're getting a reduction of one and an improvement in the other. And if you can imagine a teeter-totter, that's helping bring it back into balance. And a balanced immune system is a healthy immune system.
Mm-hmm.
You should have killer cells that go out to want to kill something, and then it signals like, hey, I'm attacking this thing. And then the other side of the immune system comes in and says, all right, we're going to make antibodies against that thing. And then those two are just going back and forth, up and down, creating balance. It's when they get severely out of balance that we have all these immune problems. So number one, and I just kind of like to look down at my notes occasionally because I like to make sure I'm hitting all the high points here. But so it helps reduce the inflammatory cytokines. It helps increase the anti-inflammatory cytokines. And then there's another part that's really, really cool, because I don't want people to think that CBD oil is an immune suppressant. Okay? Because that's one of the problems in just if you have an autoimmune condition, is that most of the drugs that they give people for autoimmune conditions are immune suppressants. Now, that's really important and really helpful to try to get the immune system like, hey, we need to get this thing to stop attacking our bodies right now. But long term, suppressing your immune system long term, there's some negative ramifications to that. And so if there was a way to help create balance in the immune system that didn't suppress it, that would be ideal. So it does help do that. But one of the things that CBD oil does is it also helps upregulate what are called the T regulatory cells. Now, the T cells, everybody's heard of them.
Probably everybody's heard of those.
Everybody's heard of those. Well, but so T regulatory cells are kind of like they're like the sergeant, and they are helping keep their army balanced and doing what it's supposed to do. So if the guys on the left start taking the line and they start charging forward, and he's like, all right, now I need you guys to pull back a little bit, and I need the guys on the right to go forward. That's what the T regulatory cells do with your immune system. And CBD oil helps increase T regulatory cells or their function. So what you're doing in effect is you're helping the sergeant do a better job of managing the troops. And
Amazing.
that's the way that's one of the really great ways that CBD oil helps in these immune conditions, because it helps decrease the inflammatory messengers, it increases the anti-inflammatory messengers, and it upregulates the guy in charge. So so he can do a better job of regulating both sides as well, which, I mean, that's pretty awesome. And
Yeah.
that's why we use it so much. That's why I think it's invaluable for people that have autoimmune conditions, as well as, if you have any sort of hyperactive inflammatory process, chronic inflammation, allergies. It's just nice. Not that, and once again, I tell everybody, I, CBD oil is a natural substance. It is not a drug. It is not intended for the diagnosis, treatment, or cure of any specific disease or condition, including anything I might mention today. But what we do know is, if it has this positive impact on the immune system, any type of immune system problems you have, you could see some benefit, and that would be a reason to take it.
Exactly. I mean, we hear a lot about using it for pain and things like that. Like when I broke my foot, all I used was a CBD salve. I didn't even take a Tylenol or an aspirin or anything,
Right.
and it was like a chunk of the bone like was sheared off.
Yeah.
It wasn't like just a twist.
Yeah.
And but it did such a great job. I didn't need anything else,
Yeah.
and then I didn't have to worry about any side effects from opiates. So.
Exactly. And that's the best part. And one of the other really unique things about CBD oil and the immune system is, all the current research, like in the last couple years, has really been about how connected your gut health is to your immune system, and that imbalances and problems in your gut are, I mean, almost every known autoimmune condition in the last 2 or 3 years has been linked to an imbalance in your gut microbiome, or all the critters that live in your digestive tract.
Hmm.
And we know that gut health can be heavily linked to inflammatory processes, immune system problems, allergies, all of that. And so CBD oil does some incredibly cool things in the gut. So this is the way to understand your gut and its implication on your immune system: is 80% of your immune system resides in your gut,
I did
right?
not know that.
Yes. So the impact that CBD oil has on your gut is a significant impact on the impact it can have on your overall immune system. And one of the ways that the immune system impacts the gut impacts the overall immune system is, one, we can get an imbalance in the good guys and the bad guys in the gut. Your microbiota can get imbalanced. And, one of the things that CBD oil has been shown to do is it tends to have an affinity for the good guys, and it has a tendency to beat up on the bad guys. So when you do that, that helps balance the gut microbiota, which has been shown to be positive for your immune system. Also, gut inflammation. Obviously, we just talked about the impact it can have on inflammation. So reducing gut inflammation really helps the immune system, because the longer you have imbalance in the microbiota and gut inflammation, what you can end up with is a situation they'll often call a leaky gut.
Oh, I've heard that before.
Yes. So that term leaky gut comes from the fact that normally your gut is held together with something called tight junctions. And when whole food particles, when you digest them and they are completely digested down to their very smallest particle, then that can be absorbed into your bloodstream and you're fine. But what happens is, when these tight junctions, when they separate a little bit, what you end up with are gaps, and whole parts of food that are not completely digested can seep into your bloodstream. And any foreign protein that makes it into your bloodstream, really any foreign substance your body gets into your bloodstream, your immune system will see it as an attacker.
Oh,
So as we get, as we develop things like leaky gut, or increased gut permeability is another way to say it, basically what happens is we start to get whole food products that seep into our bloodstream, immune response. We get the bad bacteria that might be living in our gut, they can seep into our bloodstream, immune response. We get all kinds of things going in there that's not supposed to get in there, and it creates this nasty immune response. So how does, we already know that on the outside, CBD oil can be helping reduce some inflammation. It can be increasing the anti-inflammatory stuff. It can help regulate the immune system. But here's what it does in the gut, which is really, really cool, is number one, is it has a tendency to kill the bad guys. Number two, it helps reduce gut inflammation. Number three, it's been shown to help reduce gut permeability. So if you have a leaky gut and it's driving this immune response, CBD oil helps reduce the gut permeability. So you have less things seeping through into your bloodstream. That's going to calm your immune system down from the start, from the beginning. And that's what makes it so awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool stuff.
It really is. I mean, and that's what's, oh, sorry about the, darkness and
Oh,
stuff.
no, man.
It's
that time of
Colorado.
night.
That sun goes down, boom, like that, and we're done. So I can understand why people get defensive about CBD because it just seems too good to be true.
Sure.
It's that whole magic bullet. Well, there is no such thing as a magic bullet.
Absolutely.
And so, what would you say to people about that?
So I actually have done a video on this very topic because, if you get into nutrition or you get into different things, you can get into individual vitamins, minerals, and you'd be like, oh, magnesium does X, Y, Z. It's really, really good for you. Or vitamin C does X, Y, Z. It's really, really good for you. Well, one of the same reasons that chiropractic has often been considered like, wait a minute, you guys think you can help everything? Same, and CBD oil sort of has gotten the same rap, and there's a reason for it, because what we're dealing with are systems that are over everything. So as a chiropractor, I work with the nervous system. Well, what does the nervous system do? Oh, I don't know. It controls and coordinates every single function in the human body. So I don't look at it as like, oh, I'm going to cure this or that, but I realize that if you impact the nervous system, you can have an impact on the entire body. Well, it works the same way when you talk about CBD oil, because this endocannabinoid system has its hands in literally every single system in the body. How you balance your neurotransmitters. So as we talk about people that have, anxiety or insomnia or, all kinds of things like that. When we talk about your immune system, I mean, chronic inflammation has been connected at the root cause of almost every disease known to man.
Yeah.
So if the endocannabinoid system helps modulate inflammation, well, could it have an impact in a lot of places, right? If your gut, if 80% of your immune system lives in your gut, and your gut's connected to all these different health concerns, I mean, 90% of the serotonin that's made in your body, that serotonin, that awesome brain neurotransmitter that so many people are taking medications to try to keep more of it in their system. 90% of the serotonin made in your body is made in your gut.
Wow.
So if your gut's not happy, then you're not making enough serotonin. You may have your immune system on high, and the endocannabinoid system helps literally balance and talk to all of those things. So the reason why it's so important, and it's really the reason why I got involved with it, it's not because I'm looking at it as a magic bullet or a magic cure of anything, but more that if I can do one intervention and I can have a positive impact across multiple systems, then that's an impact or a direction I want to go. And that's really the endocannabinoid system, since it interacts with every system and helps bring homeostasis and balance to the body. That's why I think CBD oil is so awesome, and that's because of the system that it works with. And that's why people think it's snake oil sometimes.
Yeah.
Because it does, it has its hand in so many different places in the body, just like the nervous system does.
Yeah, makes sense. So one of the things that you had mentioned was that you were talking to, when you were just getting into it, you were talking to some of your patients, and they had been taking CBD.
Yes.
And we've had this discussion many times on the podcast about being very careful with where you get your product and making sure that you're not getting, stuff from overseas that are filled with heavy metals and toxins. So,
Right. Yes.
so how about we talk about products that you're affiliated with, that you um, can can speak to and talk about its efficacy and safety.
Yeah. And typically when I do videos, I don't. What I usually have people do is if they're interested in getting kind of what I recommend, they can always email me or something like that. I don't usually put out product name when I'm talking about it, but what I will do is I definitely tell people if what it should have. And
Yes.
number one is it should definitely, like, I really like it to be grown in the United States, and that's just simply because we already know we have a lot of rules here,
Yes.
especially in the cannabis world because it's so new and everybody's so suspect of it. There's a lot of rules and regulations, and so I like it to be grown in the U.S. I like a clean extraction method. Like I like it to be CO2 extracted
Mm-hmm.
usually. Um, um, what are some other important things? Oh, it really needs to be tested. You know,
Yeah.
like a lot of, you can get a lot of stuff and not be 100% sure. I mean, it's kind of funny. Dr. Oz did a segment a while back, and like something like 5 out of the, you know, 8 that they tested from local shops near his studio either had none of what
Yeah.
it said it had in it.
Mm-hmm.
It had some, like 1 or 2 of them had more. Some of them that said they had no THC had an abundance of THC. Many of them had um, mycotoxins
Yeah.
and ethanol and a bunch of stuff in it. So it's really, really important that what you get is third party tested. Um, every batch is third party
Mm-hmm.
tested. They don't just give you post a test result from 5 years ago, and you're buying product that was produced last week. There should be. The brand that I recommend is U.S. grown. It's there's
Mm-hmm.
no pesticides or it's non-GMO, all that kind of fun stuff. It's been it's CO2 extracted. It's a pure substance.
Is
It's
it a full spectrum?
so I like full spectrum
Mm-hmm.
the most.
Yeah.
All right, but typically there's only a certain time when I typically don't recommend full spectrum, and
Mm-hmm.
that's if you get drug tested.
Right.
And that's just simply because full spectrum still has less than 0.3% THC in it, as I'm sure your
Mm-hmm.
viewers have heard numerous times from you guys. But but if you take it over time, it's still possible to turn a drug test positive.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could lose your job, if you're if you're a
Over the
long
road
haul,
trucker.
yeah, if you're
Yeah.
a long haul truck driver, do not take full spectrum because you could fail, and I'm certainly not going to be responsible for that. I'm
Yeah.
telling you right now, get a THC free version, and that's another really important reason why testing is so important,
Mm-hmm.
because there are people that think they're buying THC free, and if it has THC in it, they're in trouble and they could lose their job. So
Yeah.
the brand that I recommend has been certified by like the US Hemp Authority for all the positive things that we talked about. And beyond a shadow of doubt what it says it has in it, And that's really important to me, especially because I have patients that I recommend these things to. And if
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put my name on it, I want to make sure that it's clean, it's pure. There's everything it says it has in it, it has. Everything it says it shouldn't have in it, it doesn't. And we know where it comes from. I mean, we know the farm it comes from. Like
Exactly.
from farm to bottle, we know all the steps of the process. And there's no mold, there's nothing. And I know it's becoming very popular even in the state of Virginia. I mean, they're growing hemp all around me right now. And I mean, they just harvested a bunch around here just recently. And then one of my farmer patients says, well, I'm going to go over there. They're hanging it up in their barn right now. And I was like, that's awesome unless it gets mold on it and then they make CBD oil out of it. So I hope they're going to check it. So that's what I'm saying. You have just farmers who are like, yeah, I'm going to grow hemp, and then they're going to make CBD oil out of it, and you just don't know. So you got to make sure that it's good stuff.
Right, and we're not saying that it's like an intentional thing. It's just things happen.
Oh no, absolutely not. I mean, absolutely. I am very excited about all the farmers growing hemp around me, and they're probably selling it to somewhere who's going to then take it and process it and do all the testing and do all the extraction and everything. So that's what I'm hoping. I think it's awesome. I love to see it.
Yeah,
good for the farmer economy for sure.
Yeah, and it's really great that there's a product out there that can the benefits that come from the plant on our side from taking it is amazing. The benefits that it's able to give to farmers who have not been able to have a viable, harvest, or to have been either hit by the tariffs or whatever. I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm a big, I grew up in rural Virginia, so I have nothing but farms around where I live now and where I grew up, and so I'm a big fan of farmers. So I love to see all the people that I see that are starting to grow hemp, and I hope it just, they need to. There is this industry is growing.
We haven't even talked about hempcrete, biofuels, plastics.
Right.
I've seen it being used, biomass being used in insulation, house insulation, clothing.
Hempcrete, all that stuff.
So many things. All right, well, we're going to have Dr. Jim back again because there's just too much to talk about. We just don't have enough time.
Good.
So how can people find you if they have questions?
So probably the best way to do it is I maintain a very, very active Facebook page, Dr. Jim Holland CBD. And if you just find me on Facebook at I have a Dr. Jim Holland DC Facebook page, but a Dr. Jim Holland CBD page, if you go on there, you can direct message me and I will answer any question that you want. You can direct message me and I will, if you are interested in ordering the CBD oil that I recommend, I will send you a link and you could order that CBD oil or the cream or whatever you wanted. You could do that as well. You can also email me at drjimholland.com@gmail.com. And so
wait, not drjimholland.com @gmail.com.
You got it. That is it.
So seriously, it's drjimholland.com @gmail.com.
You got it.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Very cool.
It's unique.
I like that. That's memorable.
Yeah, memorable. That's what I was going for. And so between the Facebook page and that, and then if you search me on YouTube, it's Dr. Jim Holland on YouTube. You can subscribe to my channel, hit the little button so that you see every time we upload a new video. On Facebook, I go live every week on Monday nights.
Nice.
And so I do a new video about CBD oil. So I've done, 60 plus videos.
Fabulous. And we'll make sure we have the websites in the show notes also as well.
Awesome.
But for people who don't actually see the show notes, just in case.
Right, if you just hear me, yes.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you very much. We truly appreciate your time. And seriously,
thank you so much for having me.
I'm hoping you'll come back again because there's just not enough time.
We got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we do. We really do. So
awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, everybody, you have a super duper night, super duper day, whatever time it is your time. And remember, stay happy and stay healthy. See you next time.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.